Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Connery, Sean Connery, just co-founder and president of Orbis Solutions, Inc., where we specialize in helping small, medium businesses get IT care and peace of mind. Today, I'm going to share with you something that could literally save your business and your bank account. I'm going to share with you how we've been able to help businesses, executives like you, drastically reduce security risks. I think most of you are going to be shocked at what we're going to share with you, but the good news is that you will now know about these threats and be able to protect yourself and your organization against the growing army of cyber criminals who are working day and night to hack your systems and steal your data, corrupt your organization, and rob you blind. Now, I know you've likely at this event today because you're concerned, and rightfully so, about protecting you and your company from the vast and growing number of cyber threats out there today. Be it ransomware like the recent crypto wall Trojan, bank and credit card fraud, rogue employees, and regulatory actions being taken against you, or simply being down for hours or days due to viruses or employee mistakes. And ultimately, I know you're here to make sure you don't lose everything you've worked so hard to achieve in an instant, especially since it can be prevented. The good news is all of this can be mitigated or your risks significantly reduced with a few simple things put in place. So a little housekeeping. All of you should be muted. If you have any questions, there is a chat button. It is being monitored. So if you click on that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those at the end of the presentation. Today, we're going to cover what and why security awareness training, password and email security, and what motivates the cyber criminals, and most importantly, how do we protect ourselves? But ultimately, we want to discuss how we can protect everything you've worked so hard to achieve. And again, we're a little play with the thing. Of course, this sub is here actually to sink ships. It usually, I'm talking about not sinking your ship, but since the theme today is hunt for something. A little about me. #1 best-selling author of 2 cybersecurity books, Under Attack and You Are the #1 Target. I'm an award-winning speaker at Harvard Club and Microsoft. I have lots of acronyms for certifications, and I'm a winner of an XP for Cybersecurity Today and appearing on those networks. A little about Orbis Solutions. We are a managed security service provider. That means we're an outsourced IT with a specialty in security. There are a lot of outsourced IT companies out there, but kind of using the analogy of a doctor, if you had trouble with your heart, you're not going to your general practitioner, you're going to go see a cardiologist. So that's where we fit into there. Over the last year, there has been a significant increase in the sophistication, frequency, and severity of cybercrime attacks. Because of this, we've been watching the trends and putting into place new technologies, protocols, and services to protect our clients. However, many things that worked even 3 years ago are no longer effective. Plus, the attacks are becoming more frequent, more vicious, and carry much bigger consequences. This is why we're talking today. This is a very real, very serious threat that is escalating. And just a note, cybersecurity should just not be viewed as a technical problem. A couple of years ago, I'd probably be more suspenseful and pose a question. What is the greatest threat to a company? And IBM believes 95% of the time, it's employees. Employees who leave or been fired have been known to use a company's data to make fraudulent purchases using company or customer data, delete important data, steal software, steal a business's intellectual property so they can use it at their next job. Insider data breaches just don't get the same attention in the news that a cyber attack caused by hackers, because inside attacks are a real threat, and that threat is growing. The FBI warns that the increased use of cloud computing means that employees are now better able to steal, delete, manipulate a company's data. Simply put, An insider data breach is easier to pull off now than it ever was before. And on that, kind of like with vendors as well, I have a true story from a business owner. Years ago, they had a web company design a new site for her. Therefore, they had access to her account for her web hosting provider. She was using HostGator. They were doing a terrible job and never delivered the website she paid them a deposit for. So she fired them after changing the password to her hosting site. However, due to an admitted glitch in the hosting provider's password system, they logged in and erased every file they had bringing down her site, purely out of spite. The files they deleted were not the ones they created. It was her current website she had paid someone else to design. Thank goodness she had a backup of the entire website, which was an e-commerce site, which would have been down for days or weeks had she not gotten back up. HostGator admitted the glitch in the system, but didn't bring her site back up. Further, they didn't even have backups, and she never could get anyone on the phone to assist her in any way. Just an email back and forth, which sucks, especially saying, sorry, you're screwed. Now, these different attacks I'm going to discuss in greater detail. Most of them really are social engineering, everything like from phishing and spear phishing and all of that, but we'll go into that in more detail. And here, most people are using the same username and password for several services, say Netflix and Amazon. When you hear about a breach, and I see lots every week, and your credentials get out on the dark web, bad actors will use those credentials to try to get into everything and see what works. We'll cover this information in more detail on how to protect yourself, family, friends, coworkers, and your business. Now, I'm not really real big on reading slides, but just some quick stuff to see here. 1 in every 50 websites is going to be malicious. That means that basically 2% of the website is malicious and going to infect you. Nearly 1 in 3 phishing sites use HTTPS. I actually saw someone on the local Las Vegas news talking about Amazon Day, and they were saying, well, this is how you know it's a legitimate site. It has the S. Well, unfortunately, that security expert is incorrect. As of last year, 1 in 3, about 33% have that. And I'll show you some examples of these phishing sites and how good they look. Again, this is 2019 data, so it's closer to 93% of malware businesses encounter will be delivered through email. And most of the breaches are using stolen credentials. And the risk affects businesses of all sizes, small all the way to the enterprise. And some of this stuff shocks me. 35% of workers who know they've been hacked don't bother to change their passwords afterward. 49% of employees admit they click on links and messages from unknown senders during work. I know a person who was not in the payroll department receive an attachment saying, it was say from Paychecks, and you hadn't paid your invoice, and this person's not even in accounting at all, and they still clicked on the link. They weren't in charge of paying an invoice for payroll or anything, but they still clicked on it. So these are the behaviors that we do not need to have. 67% of workers are sure they received a phishing email at work, but 40% admit they don't report it. Most people use the same password and username for several services. I'm sorry, short and complex passwords are hard for people to remember, but easy for a computer program to crack. Industry experts, including NIST, recommends using longer passphrases, which is when you combine multiple words into a long string of at least 15 characters. Instead of a short or simple or complex password, the extra length of the passphrase makes it harder to crack, while also making it easier for people to remember. For example, the passphrase I have on the screen here, voices protected 2020 we are, is a strong passphrase. For more secure passphrase, combine multiple unrelated words to create a phrase. For example, director, month, learn, truck. Now, we talked about if your credentials get out there in the dark web, think about all of the services that your business uses. Here's an example of just some of the stuff that's out there and all of the sites that they could be used. So if you use the same username and password, they're going to go ahead and shotgun it against multiple different sites and see what they can get into. And again, that earlier slide showed 35% of the people that knew they were hacked didn't bother changing their passwords. I have walked through hundreds of offices and found passwords on stickums or stuck to a monitor or under a keyboard everywhere. One person even told me they had the usernames and passwords printed out on a piece of paper for over 300 bank accounts in their top drawer. And you can't email yourself the passwords. Think about the Sony hack where the bad actors were in the network for months collecting those emails, so they would have seen those passwords. For example, we use a system called pwpush.com. We put in that password and we can specify that you can read it so many times, so many days, kind of limiting that. And of course, there's password management systems. Like our organization is we have hundreds of customers, and from there we have 50 to hundreds of passwords per customer. So we have lots of people trying to get into our systems, and we have to make sure that we're doing everything possible. And there's just so many passwords out there. And I really encourage people to have some sort of password management utility to keep track of all of those usernames and passwords. Again, 93% of the successful attacks are going to be coming in through email. And again, we want to look for those malicious files, those PDFs, a Word document where you have to turn on a macro. These are all bad and can affect your system. And because they can basically just evade it, some emails do's and don'ts. Always verify the sender of the message. Were you expecting an email from that person? Always hover over the web link, that blue link, that URL. It'll sometimes show you where it is, and so where what it's really going to. So, is it going to where it's supposed to go? Be skeptical of odd spelling and grammar. Well, that's true. No one will read my message. Those who know me know I'm not the best at grammar and spelling, but improper logos, or if they ask you to upgrade or verify your account, and report suspicious emails to your help desk. Again, do not open those attachments of unknown senders. Consider the source and whether the file was expected. Don't click on a link of an unknown sender, and definitely don't email someone your username and password. Some of those email threat examples are phishing, viruses, malware, ransomware, email spoofing, and others. And phishing is something that's going to be time sensitive. It's got to be required. I need your action. You need to do this now. It may look like it's coming from a trusted vendor like Dropbox, Google. We've probably all gotten, your package has been delivered, or it's in transit, whether it be UPS or FedEx, or maybe some sort of legitimate bank alert. But once the bad people have your username and password, they can use your account credentials to get into your systems. Let's take a quick look at some of the examples. The top one here, the helpdesk.desktopadmin.tmail.tv. That's probably not a legitimate help desk. The quota's wrong. They're asking for your first name, your password, your user ID. These are all bad. The bottom one in PayPal, you'll notice when you hover over that link, like log into your account, it doesn't say paypal.com. It says a number with a /PPAU. Again, suspicious content and hovering over the stuff. One more example. Here we can look at a COVID example where, look at that email address. It's not an M like Miller Supply Company. It's two N's put together instead of an M. I had one client where, like Yusco signs, and it wasn't Yusco signs. I'm just picking on them because I needed something with an I. And so instead of all capitals, instead of a capital I, they just did a small L, so they could have that fake looking email address. Again, real generic, that sense of urgency, immediately, you must do this. And again, you hover over that link, and again, it's a number with some sort of registration information to it. I started getting these, I don't know about you, but about 2-3 weeks ago, I started getting these even to my cell phone. So this urgent, get a payment or get this, click on that to apply, to get your information and send stuff. So it's even really starting to come through our cell phones through texting. I talked about some of those websites where you have a fake phishing site. So on the right here, we have facebook.com, and you can see that it's all good. But over on the other side, and I've kind of covered up the link where you can get to it, but you can see this is a very legitimate looking site, but it's somewhere else /facebook.html. So some of these sites look real good, and they're looking for you to put in your username and your password. They'll probably fix you so that they pass you right onto the real Facebook, but now they have your username and password, and they can do what they need in the background. Again, we talked about those attachments. They use them to spread viruses and other malicious software to steal or destroy your data. Malware can install things like keyloggers. A keylogger is something that captures everything you type, controls your web camera or microphone, or send all your data to a remote server that criminals control. The attachments are typically be like a PDF, a Word or Excel, usually something that's going to want you to have macros. You be very careful about lowering the security and allowing macros. Again, they're going to take advantage of that unpatched software. And for the first time, cybercrime is now the most prevalent type of cybercrime for businesses. And 90% of the malware is polymorphic. What that means is that basically software, the virus changes every single time. And I can have a website so that you get a virus and the next person goes to my website. I change the virus ever so slightly so it's a different virus, and I change the virus again for the third person. I change the virus again. So no antivirus person's ever going to write a definition to stop when there's only one version of a virus out there. So I'm going to be able to get through and get into your systems. We all know that ransomware is on the rise. Again, ransomware is where they get into your system. They usually kind of quietly start encrypting all of your data, and 2 or 3 days later, they pop up and say, hey, please pay us so much money. Some will even have a built-in help desk to help you get, to prove that you can get a file. They can decrypt it. They help you get the Bitcoin so you can pay them. One of the newer trends, I don't know if you've seen, is Shameware, where not only do they encrypt all your data, but they take a copy of it and they take it to their system. A famous entertainment lawyer who had several A-list stars had all of their data stolen, and it was ransom for millions and millions of dollars. So it's a new trend this year that we're seeing. And it's not just on computers. We've seen it on phones as well. I mean, think about it. How many of us have a mobile phone and are using it to access our company's email? How many of you have a password on your phone or a remote kill to wipe if you've lost or stolen? And just some good advice, some current thinking is rebooting your phone at least once a week will help remove some of those bad programs that are running in memory. Email spoofing, also called the CXO compromise, a business email compromise, is typically spoofing someone to get you to pay some money. These scams usually are involve wiring or transferring money. You've probably seen Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank wired $400,000 to somewhere in Russia, and it really affects almost anyone to wire some money. And it's not so much a hack, it's just, they're asking for you to transfer some money. We all know about Mattel, where a finance executive fell victim to a phishing scam that saw the Los Angeles-based maker of children's toys wire a cool $3 million to Chinese hackers. Expertly timed during a period of corporate change, the email hit the inbox of an unnamed executive and requested a new vendor payment in the amount of $3 million to a vendor in China. Mattel at the time was in a period of change as a new CEO, Christopher Sinclair, had officially taken over Mattel, a move that aided the con artist. The phishing email was unremarkable and came directly from Sinclair, or so the executive thought. She was wrong. Mattel protocol requires that fund transfers to be approved by 2 high-ranking managers. Well, she was one, and Sinclair, who she believed requested the funds, was another. Satisfied that she complied with the protocol, the executive wired over $3 million to a bank in China. It wasn't until hours later that she mentioned the payment to Sinclair before figuring out that something was amiss. Mattel executives tried to stop the transfer, but the bank informed them that the money was already in China. The transfer took place on a bank holiday. This brought the company some time. The money couldn't be retrieved until the bank opened the following Monday. Mattel used this time wisely in cooperation with the Chinese authorities, was able to reclaim the wired cash. Mattel got lucky. Phishing scams don't usually have a happy ending. Then some of you might recall the Equifax hack. Equifax announced a data breach that exposed the potential information of 147 million people. Your reaction may be, so what? How can they actually use this information to hurt me? Well, you can read through some of these bullet points and give you some examples, but what about more recently? The Federal Trade Commission is warning of a large-scale scam erupting in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, involving imposters who are filing claims for unemployment benefits using the personal information of people who have not filed any claims. Washington State has lost over $500 million, Maryland over $650 million, and it's happening in Nevada too. The unemployment process has created an opportunity for bad actors to bulk another money tree. Nevada's agency overseeing unemployment insurance suspects anywhere from 134,000 to 185,000 possible fraudulent jobless claims have been filed. So what is motivating these cyber criminals? Well, this is a simple business to get started with very little or no overhead. Anyone can easily get some basic training on the internet, like some tools to start your hacking enterprise. And the information sells. Credit card details are $2 to $90. Physical credit cards are going to be worth more. One successful ransomware hit on a business is worth anywhere from $2,500 to $50,000 per incident or more, especially if they figure out what your company might have. So even an amateur can expect to make $80,000 a month stealing your data. Again, we're talking about how this is very easy, and I can easily go on the internet and find these exploit kits. Most of these things run on autopilot. There isn't some guy in a hoodie sitting at a computer hacking away. It's just running automatic. Internet of Things, thermostats, cameras, your vending Coke machine could be an Internet of Thing where it is connected to the internet and does all kinds of stuff. There was a casino that got hacked and lost their gaming data due to a thermostat for the fish tank in the lobby. The FBI is just overwhelmed with these cases, so unless your incident's big, it's probably not going to jump on them. And then the dark web makes it near impossible to catch these people. Again, we talk about that dark web. That's a separate, hidden part of the World Wide Web, so you can't really get there with your normal Chrome browser. You need more of a Tor browser to get there. They can operate anonymously, and it's estimated that the dark web is 550 times larger than the World Wide Web and growing. Here's some examples of some of the stuff that I can do on the dark web. I can get credit cards. They're Denmark, and I can get all these credit cards for $39. All the information I need is just right there. Here's a little more UK, US credit card information for $10.99. Again, I can just get all of this information. So what do I do to protect myself? A non-technical way to discuss protecting your IT environment is using the analogy of a house, something we all get our heads wrapped around. We feel safe in our homes, and that's because of protection, detection, and response. These are the three key words I want you to take away from this. Protection. I have doors, walls, locks, and fencing. Detection, I have an alarm system, motion sensors, cameras, and response. Maybe there's the neighborhood security, the police, and as a last resort, insurance. Now, when I ask an audience, which is important? And they're all important. And if you will say response, and if you're thinking that, you'd be nearly correct. That is a second. And when I ask about protection, almost most people raise their hands, but protection is number 3. I'm here to tell you that detection is the most important. Here's why. An FBI study in cybercrime revealed threats were in a victim's network for over 200 days. Most security companies only focus on protection like antivirus and firewalls that threats are getting past. It's only through detection can you discover and detour these threats before they happen. I thank you for the opportunity to speak here. If any of you are worried about how to reduce your exposure to cybersecurity hacks, please go to my website, orbissolutionsinc.com, and we're happy to audit your company. First, we'll get you on the phone, yes, with me personally, and we'll go over your business, what you're looking to do, what you got, and what you're looking to achieve moving forward. Once we have that foundation, I'll help you with a strategic plan moving forward to immediately protect your business. Thank you. If there's any
we do have a few questions that came up.
Perfect. I love questions.
How do I know if my business is secure?
It is hard to say if your business is secure. I know NASA spent over $28 million securing their data, and then they were hacked, and that was reported by the Wall Street Journal, and then they were hacked. The FBI doesn't really say how you can protect yourself. It's not so much if you'll be hacked, it's just a matter of when you'll be hacked. I don't brag that we have the most amazing security just because if someone were trying to get in, they're going to get in. Our company does penetration tests where we actually get into systems, and 90% are very easy. 10% give us a little bit of a challenge, but we get into 100% of the clients and all of their data. So when we really try to get into something, we're going to get in. It's about doing all the right things. Think about like what we talked about, how detection's important, how through detection we can go ahead and maybe detect some things in our systems and mitigate it quickly.
Okay, perfect. Is it safe to have LastPass on your cell phone?
Yes. So there's a long time ago, it's been a while, but when they talked about some hacking with some of the password platforms, it had nothing to do with the actual passwords. It had to do with accounting and some other information. LastPass, OnePass, all of these are very secure on your phone or your computer. They're definitely safer than, say, using the browser password keepers, because those do have some memory vulnerabilities where I can still get into it. But definitely have something to keep track of all those usernames and passwords.
What if my credentials have been compromised? What are some of the best practices for me to do?
Well, definitely first thing, again, we talked about how 35% of people don't do anything, which is a shocking number to me. One of the things I know we do is we use a service where we monitor the dark web. We keep track, and if our credentials get out there, we know, and we want to make sure whatever that credential is being used for, we go ahead and change it. We want to make sure we're not using the same. So, if we report to our clients like, hey, this username password's out there, make sure you change your password. Make sure you're using different passwords for different systems, because if you're using the same password for 10 different things, and you think about everything you have in even your house nowadays, like Amazon account, your Apple account, your Gmail account, all of your streaming services, do you have all that? Change all those passwords. I was talking to one person. He was shocked that his credentials were being used in Netflix. So there were like 3 people in Croatia watching Netflix using his credentials. So it's amazing how fast that information gets out there.
How do I know that? How do I know that my team is secure if they're working remote? Because of COVID, we had they said that they had to have their team work remote. How do we make sure that they are better secured?
So remote brings all kinds of different complications, and they're not all IT security. Some will be, I know when our company went remote, one of the things we reached out to our insurance company, and they informed us that we could not allow our employees to use personal computers. They had to use company computers while working from home. And then we had to make sure that they were using their company computers only for company work, not for their kids to be playing games or for them to do whatever. Like, use your personal equipment for all of that, and then your work computer is dedicated to just work. So that's more logistics and all that. And then you have the issue, if you have to now furlough your employees, like how is it you're going to get that equipment back? So a lot of things I don't really know that are expressly technical. But when it comes to technical, the big ones for me, make sure when you access your information, you're definitely not using, say, RDP. That is like the worst remote desktop protocol that where you can kind of remote in is the worst. 58% of ransomware are coming from that RDP protocol. So make sure you're using like a VPN, or you've moved your data. I know like our company, we moved our data into SharePoint/OneDrive a month or two before this happened, so that our data is there securely, and then we access it using two-factor authentication is real huge. Microsoft says 99.9% of accounts that are hacked do not have two-factor authentication. So, it's real simple nowadays. I get a little pop-up on my watch to click approve. I don't have to type out 6 numbers. It's not painful, but it's just a real secure way to make sure I know who's accessing our data. But those are different ways. But, again, I kind of offered up a consultation. I'm happy to sit down and understand what each business has and what is the best way to achieve that.
Okay. And then a follow-up question to the LastPass. Do you launch the website, say, for your bank account from LastPass and not the service provider's app?
I'm not sure I fully understand. So do you launch from LastPass? Do I click launch the page? That's fairly secure. I mean, some people might say use a different computer for banking. Some people will say use a different browser. That way I'm using a different browser and I'm going to close it when I'm done. So all that information is gone. But banking information, you want to be real secure with it. Maybe I can talk to that person offline so I can better understand. But I think launching it from LastPass is fairly safe and secure, if that was a question.
Perfect. Other than that, that was the last question that we have. So if we have any other questions, we'll stay on for another 2 minutes. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. If you are interested in that free consultation, please feel free to reach out to me. Most of you have our number, and if not, it's online right now at 702-602-2109. Otherwise, thank you again, and we hope you enjoyed your breakfast and learned a little bit this morning.